Hello, YIMBYs for Harris. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. My name is Steve Boyle. I am here with Elizabeth Markowitz from the YIMBYs for Harris team. We'll have more friends dropping in throughout our broadcast tonight, including, of course, interviews, all new housing-themed interviews and clips with New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, Congressman from California Robert Garcia, California State Senator Scott Wiener, and a special message from United States Senator Elizabeth Warren. Here we are, and here we go. Elizabeth, do you want to take a quick second just to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Elizabeth Markowitz, proud YIMBY for Harris. I live in Dallas, Texas. We are super excited in Texas, feeling lots of energy. Texas has made a lot of news recently for some of the great work we're doing building housing, and just excited to continue bringing that energy and to help elect Kamala Harris.
So tonight we will we'll hang out with you for a little bit. We're going to show some clips. Not more than 30 minutes of clips. We got such great content. It's been such an enormous privilege to sit down with so many champions for the movement to build new housing. It's been an incredible honor. So we'll share a little bit of that, and then we're going to send you to make calls. We'll do a phone banking training for folks who need. That's optional. If you are advanced at this point, jump right in. If you get bored of us, jump right in. Don't let us stop you. There's a lot of work to be done. Before we get just to our first clip, Elizabeth, how you feeling?
Feeling excited. I think that there's been so much energy and excitement, and it's been such a roller coaster. And I think the best antidote to that is just staying busy. And I think that's what's been so great about being a part of YIMBYs for Harris, is just having a tangible way to really be involved this election cycle, specifically on an issue that I'm so passionate about, which is building more housing. And so I'm just glad that people want to spend their election eve with us rather than, sitting and doom scrolling, actually, do something, as Michelle Obama said.
I got to tell you, it has been. I mentioned it's a huge privilege to talk to these elected officials. Honestly, it's been the honor of a lifetime to hang out with all of you and everybody in the YIMBYs for Harris movement. This is amazing. I know I have spent the last few weeks on a blitz putting together these events, door knocking in Philadelphia, which has been amazing. Honestly, the enthusiasm out there is so excited. We are focused on turnout right now, and enthusiasm is high. You see it at the rallies. The news this past week has been incredible, right? Tim Walz said today, this is a Super Bowl. It is the 2-minute warning of a tie game, but we have the ball, and it does feel that way. But I'll tell you what, once I finished putting the clips together for this, and got home from door knocking about 15 minutes ago, that was when the nervousness set in. And the moment I took a pause for the first time in weeks, it hit. So I'm feeling it right now. It's everything to play for, and we got history to make, and a world, nothing less than a world to save when you think about America's influence in the world, turning back the tide of authoritarianism, the global economy, and of course climate change and the future of planet Earth. So thanks for being here with us tonight. We're going to make some history together. I'm going to kick us off with a clip in a second. We've got some folks joining us live in San Francisco. Armand and Cameron from Team YIMBYs for Harris are just getting set up at the SF Democrats headquarters, where they'll be phone banking live and in person tonight. But just to share with you, let's get to our first clip. We'll hear from both first New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, and then United States Congressman from California Robert Garcia on how they became YIMBYs in the first place. So first, let's hear from the governor of New Mexico.
There's really 3 specific reasons. One, I want to go to younger folks. We've invested in a really robust, even pre-cradle to career strategy to get folks to stay here, live here, work here, raise a family here, and to take away a lot of those burdens that prevent opportunity. So free, universal childcare. We're more than halfway there with a funding opportunity that lasts decades. Free pre-K, free therapeutic pre-K, moonshot investment K through 12, free college, 2-year, 4-year part-time, full-time, only state of the nation that's building that investment in New Mexicans. But if they don't have places to live, buy, rent, create equity, opportunity, stability, then all of those upstream investments really are minimized. So we want to make sure that we're supporting New Mexicans where they are. 2, every state, including this one, is concerned about workforce. So if we don't create housing so that we can get our workforce developed and stabilized in places around the state that have long been left out of housing and development initiatives because they're rural, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, particularly for an energy state that is moving robustly in renewables. You know, our large wind farms are not always going to be right in the center of the population areas in the state. And then lastly, every state, including New Mexico, is behind. It's dire. We need 40,000 units. And for me, I'm happy about rent, but I'm happier about building equity and what I call the kind of stability in folks raising families and thinking about more permanency about where they live and building these economic opportunities. So we want to do as much as we can as fast.
Folks, please welcome live from San Francisco. We've got Armand and Cameron. Armand and Cameron, how's the mood out there? How you doing?
Hey,
It's good.
people are super excited. Headquarters are just like full of people making calls.
If it looks empty, it's because we're on the second floor, because the first floor is so full of people making calls. So people keep coming in. Yeah.
And there's
folks,
also a lot of people back here too.
There are.
One.
Yeah.
We got folks making local calls to push housing in San Francisco. Folks making national calls for Kamala Harris. You got a mix of folks out there.
The HQ for SF Dems is making calls for national tonight, so it's for Kamala, stuff like that. But they've also been making calls for locally endorsed San Francisco candidates. But tonight's about winning the national election.
Amazing. Armand and Cameron, how you guys holding up? How you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great.
Very tired, but nothing good way.
I don't know if it's kosher to say that, but like I'm feeling good. I think tomorrow is going to be a nail biter, but I think it's going to go really well. I'm excited.
It's only just settling in for me that it might be a few days, might be a little bit before we know, and it will no longer be able to impact things. We've got tomorrow till 8 p.m. till the poll close, and then we wait. Armand, I'm just curious. It's been a hell of a run for YIMBYs for Harris. We've had Governor Wes Moore, Governor Jared Polis, Senator Brian Schatz, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, an incredible crew of people, and I am leaving tons of people out. How do the last few months compare to your expectations when this got started, and your wildest dreams when this got started? Armand's frozen, so it's good. He's really handsome.
The Wi-Fi is tough in here because there are so many people making calls. I can attest to that. We were like frantically trying to get online. I can see him trying to we're working on
it. I've frozen in much more awkward faces. I think
you're right. It's not a bad face.
But I am going to bring up 2 clips now from Congressman Robert Garcia. If you don't know him, he is founding the Congressional YIMBY Caucus. So this is getting started right after the election. It's really exciting. Let's hear first about why he's a YIMBY.
Obviously, I'm a national co-chair for the Harris Walz campaign, and I'm a YIMBY, so it makes total sense to combine those. I think, obviously, the just kind of YIMBY movement has seen such growth in the last few years. I'm really excited that the YIMBY movement has also linked up with some of the more kind of progressive elements of the things that we believe as YIMBYs. I think, being pro-housing, being pro-transit, being pro-climate, understanding the link between all of those, I think is really exciting. And I'm really glad that there's so many YIMBYs out there that are supporting the vice president. And you guys are all doing a great work. So thanks for that.
And then Armand, in his interview, asked the congressman how he became a YIMBY, specifically how he was radicalized, which I was getting nervous about asking Congress folks we like to identify as radicals, but I thought he had a great answer, and I'll share it with you now.
So I definitely became radicalized during my time as mayor. I mean, I obviously come from the local government world, and I saw, really early on, I'm kind of like a, I love downtowns. I love creating public spaces. Early on, I consumed a lot of information as I was a kind of a teacher before I got into being mayor, and I was a university instructor. So I just read an enormous amount of research and listened to a lot of really great information and documentaries, and just read some incredibly insightful, I think, authors and scholars, with it all talking about early on. It was a lot about like creating third spaces and creating walkable streets and adding bike lanes, and so all of that really got me into this kind of especially pro housing person during my time as mayor. I approved and supported every single housing project that ever came across my desk. I supported every single one, whether it was a market rate project, whether it was an affordable project, whether it was a project for people that were experiencing homelessness or were unhoused. I really believe that housing should be our top priority in the city, and we pushed that. We either built or permitted close to 10,000 units during my time as mayor, which, for a city like Long Beach that had been quite NIMBY before me, I think was pretty powerful. And the one thing I'm probably the most proud of, and probably where I really got radicalized, was I was pushing through midway between my time as mayor an upzoning of the whole city. And as I'm pushing this upzoning, I realized who was opposing it and who was supporting it. And I saw myself being drawn to this kind of coalition of everyone, of young people, diversity, young professionals, working class communities that were all kind of trying to push for more housing. And the folks that were opposing, any sort of new housing construction adjacent to, their homes or we're doing the zoning, were all essentially kind of entrenched, kind of older folks, which I respect, but people that didn't want to see change. And at that moment I realized, like, we have to push and take the arrows. And I had, I remember one meeting, I had 500 or 600 residents, all very good voters and very good people, yelling and screaming at me that they would ruin me because I was trying to upzone the residential neighborhood. And I think at that moment I realized we really need to be fighters on this. And that's really when I became radicalized, started following kind of like the California YIMBY, what was going on. I had already been this huge kind of pro bike advocate, and it all kind of came together for me. And then my second term, I was just like, fuck it, like, we just got to go big, and that's what we did.
Fuck it, we just got to go big.
That's right.
Armand, we can hear you. You're still a little frozen, but that's okay. You did, I thought, freeze handsomely, which is a good problem to have. You'll sneak in. We've mostly clipped these around the elected officials, but it wasn't perfect clips. I worked very fast, so you'll see in our Scott Wiener videos a little dash of Armand all dressed up as well. Armand, before we lost you, I was just asking. It's been a wild run the last 3 months. It's been 3 months. It feels like a lifetime. Our event was like August 28th. It has been 3 months. Armand, how did YIMBYs for Harris get started? And how do these past 3 months compare to both your expectations when you first kicked off and even your wildest dreams when we first kicked off?
It really started, there's two answers to this of how it started. Also, my hair looks insane. I feel very self-conscious. It's been a long 3 months. One answer is it started in August. Somebody tweeted we should do a YIMBYs for Harris, and I was like, yeah, if you're interested, like, DM me. And the world DM'd me. And we I was like, I need to manage this somehow, create a WhatsApp, and everybody joined the WhatsApp, and it just blew up and escalated. And it's, I was expecting a call of like, maybe we can get a couple local elected officials and like raise a few $100s and make some calls and raise $147,000 to get Kamala Harris and Tim Walz elected for housing, way beyond my wildest expectations. Then we made a ton of calls, and we've had so many great leaders. And tonight, like Senator Warren, mind blowing. We have come a long way. But all of this is really, these 3 months have been the culmination of over a decade of organizing. And Cameron and I are in San Francisco. We've been knocking on doors, talking to voters. It's this local stuff. Literally this morning, I was out with the mayor and a supervisor candidate, and it's every vote matters, every conversation matters, and it really is built up to this. So when folks talk to people tonight, remember that it's not just about what you say tonight. Even if they're like, I don't care or whatever, like you're planting a seed that will grow and grow and grow. And it's really important. So plant those seeds, folks.
And Armand, as we were kicking off, if we are to assume that Ms. Harris was always going to be too busy to join us, I don't want to make you pick from our elected officials and allies, but did you have a dream person to join us or show up?
Well, I would say I was someone who we didn't get.
Inclusive perhaps of people we did get. I'm slightly attempting to lead you, but I am interested in the answer.
Well, I would say as an OG, I definitely wanted Senator Wiener, because he's been he was really at the beginning of this. Like if he hadn't been standing up for housing when he was on the board of supervisors, like YIMBY, I genuinely believe wouldn't be a thing. And I didn't want to just highlight the people who came on later. We're happy, you join any day. A convert today is the same as somebody who's been with us for 10 years. But I wanted to honor, the people who began this movement, people like Sonia, but also in terms of really big names like Senator Warren. I'm just a giant fan. I think she's a progressive champion. Congressman Barbara Lee, but also Governor Polis, Governor Moore. They're doing amazing. Or Senator Schatz, who's really I think the first U.S. senator to proclaim himself a YIMBY, and to do amazing work there. So the one that we didn't get, aside from obviously, the next president and the next vice president, that I still hope we can get one day, is AOC. But yeah, I'm pretty happy.
I got a chance. AOC stopped by a Philly door knock earlier this week. Tried to catch her for this, and she escaped and vanished in seconds. But for me, I'm again floored by everybody, but particularly blown away. Again, to have a message to play you in just a second from Senator Elizabeth Warren. She's been a huge leader on this issue, obviously a progressive icon and a champion across the board. Somebody who's already introducing. Yes, Armand.
I would just say before you introduce her, I just want to tell a quick story. In 2019, I think, my Halloween costume was Elizabeth Warren. Or in 2020. There's a photo of me somewhere that I can't find, but like a wig and a big binder. I was Warren's binder of plans. So
are you I have a plan for that?
that's I said that to everybody that day. We were very annoyed.
I am devastated that you don't have that photo. I was just going to share with everybody, Senator Warren is already introducing a bill to make Kamala's promise to build 3 million new homes a reality, which among other things, among various funding mechanisms, involves enticing local governments. The question is always what's the federal government going to do, right? It's such a local issue. Well, one thing that she's proposed is to entice local governments to reform their zoning, relax zoning laws, streamline these processes, in exchange for federal infrastructure dollars. So she's taken our ambitions nationally and made them concrete. And that's something that can happen if Kamala Harris wins tomorrow. So now I'm going to share a message for YIMBYs for Harris from Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Hello, YIMBYs for Harris. Senator Elizabeth Warren here. I am so grateful that all of you are here tonight, phone banking for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. As we all know, Housing is at the heart of American life. Number one retirement plan in this country is to pay off your house and live on Social Security. But this reality is looking less and less feasible for so many young Americans. Our problem is basic Econ 101, and that is that we don't have enough housing, and that drives up costs and makes housing unaffordable, particularly for people who haven't yet bought their first home. The answer, pretty straightforward: build more housing. We need big solutions, and Kamala Harris has a big solution here. She will create 3 million new housing units, and she's going to give tax cuts to first-time home buyers. We're facing a housing crisis that is not going to fix itself. So tonight, as you make calls, remember, you are voting for bold, lasting change. You're voting for affordable housing, for economic freedom, and for a brighter future. So let's turn the page on the Trump era with a new vision for housing in America. Thank you, thank you, thank you, YIMBYs for Harris. Thank you for all of the amazing work that you have done so far, and that everything you are going to do tonight and tomorrow. It is go time. Let's hit the phones and let's win this thing.
Holy shit!
It's go time.
Fired up.
I got a little chills hearing her say her name, and yeah, fired up and ready to go. Armand, you mentioned California State Senator Scott Wiener, who's really the tip of the spear. Perhaps none of this would be happening without his leadership at the extreme local level. Let's hear about him. Let's go back in time and hear about Scott before Scott was a YIMBY and how this all started.
Time flies. It was a gradual process for me. So I moved to San Francisco in 1997 when I was 27 years old, and I thought I was a big lawyer, and I thought I'll just go and find an apartment. Just find an apartment I like and sign a lease, and that'll be the end of it, the way you normally think of getting an apartment. And I still remember the first morning I came in on a Friday evening, and Saturday morning went out and went to my first open house. And there was a line down the block to get into the open house. And I finally got in, and people were trying to bribe the landlord to choose them to sign the lease. And I remember thinking, this is super weird. But that was sort of normal. That was the beginning of the dot-com boom. But I immediately knew there was something not normal about that. But I ended up finding a place, and then I was a junior lawyer, and I did a lot of pro bono work defending low-income renters who were facing eviction. And I still remember talking to this guy who was a older gay man, probably in his 60s or maybe 70, who was a long-term HIV survivor who was facing a owner move-in eviction. And I remember him saying to me, if I lose this apartment, I'm going to have to choose between being homeless in San Francisco and getting good HIV care, or moving back to the South, where I'm from, having housing, and getting bad HIV care. And that just shook me to my core, that anyone would ever have to make that choice, that an eviction would lead to either being homeless or having to leave our city. And then a number of years after that, I had gotten more and more involved in the community. And I became the president of my neighborhood association in the Castro. And I remember that there was a project that was fully zoning compliant. And it went through 50 community meetings for this zoning compliant apartment building. And so all of these experiences eventually, like my own experience, the guy I was representing, and then seeing this weirdness of like a project that complies with all the rules has to go through an unending process. It just sort of laid the foundation for me to understand that our housing system was broken, and then I got elected and really saw the brokenness, if that's a word, of it, and learned what needed to happen to fix it.
Armand, you were involved in getting State Senator Scott Wiener into office, were you not?
I worked on his 2016 campaign. It was the first like really big political campaign that I worked on, and it was. I still get tired thinking about it. It was a very tough race, but it's one of the greatest honors of my life.
So we start there, and of course we mentioned that flash forward to today, and Kamala Harris has gone full YIMBY, Barack Obama's gone full YIMBY, Elizabeth Warren's taken this on in the Senate, and then in the House, we heard earlier this summer that Congressman Robert Garcia was planning on starting the YIMBY Caucus. I just checked, and that news broke the day before our rally, which is pretty cool. And I also just checked, and it is hardly comprehensive, but I haven't heard a lot about it since. Which means the next clip might actually break a little news in terms of the timeline here.
The first thing we're doing, so we've been building our YIMBY Caucus now for the last couple months. We will officially have our launch, I believe, the third week of November, so soon after the election. Which we're going to
promote that, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have the dates getting squared away, but we're going to announce the co-chairs of the caucus, of which I will be one. There'll be partisan co-chairs, Republicans and Democrats, and we're going to announce the entire caucus all at once. We have a really good membership of both Democrats and Republicans. It's going to be the bipartisan congressional YIMBY Caucus, be the first one ever, of course. And once we announce that, one of our goals is clearly going to be to build more housing, and at least because we want Kamala Harris, at least the Democrats want Kamala Harris to win. She's been very clear. One of her top goals is going to be to build millions of more units, 3 million units, 4 million units. And we want to get those units built. And so what can we do as a caucus to support that work as members of Congress? Because Republicans should want to support that initiative as well, regardless of the fact that it's a Democratic president. And I think where Democrats can come to the table as well is whatever package we present can be and get Congress is certainly going to have major tax incentives. Should include opportunities for development and developers to have support. There could be we can look at issues around zoning. We could look at issues around deregulation. There's so much that will be interesting to Republicans that it can really be bipartisan. And so I think that will be interesting. And I think what we're going to have to fight is I'm pretty progressive. I'm definitely on the more left side of the party and a member of the Progressive Caucus. And where I have to do work with some of my members is also getting them to understand that you can be overregulated, and we can actually be putting in policy that actually is not that you think might be helping the climate and our sustainable goals, we're actually hurting them long term by being so careful that we're not providing housing and therefore kind of breaking up these dense cities that we should be creating. So I think that there's a lot of work to do there, but I think we're going to be ready to go on day one to support hopefully the Vice President's plan on building more housing. It's a huge part of her agenda.
I'm going to play 2 more clips, and then we're going to get to the phones. The reason I'm going to play 2 more clips is because I want us to hear a little bit from both Congressman Garcia and Governor Lujan Grisham in terms of the impact that President Harris could have. We will play those. Then we will hit the phones. There'll be an optional phone banking training here for anyone who would like that. And then we will be back at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and we'll play some more clips then. Which will talk through everything from what Governor Lujan Grisham is doing in New Mexico. State Senator Scott Wiener will reflect on his personal relationship with Kamala Harris, and Congressman Garcia will talk through what it was like to start or how he's gotten the YIMBY Caucus ready to go. But first, I want to hear a little bit from Congressman Garcia about his vision for a Harris presidency, which begins with Armand asking him a question around national standards and goes from there.
I think like kind of everything's on the table kind of approach is what I would support. So I think the answer to that would be I hope so. And I think that we should take an approach to housing that's creative and that's different. I think my advice to the Vice President and the President-elect is going to be to go big on housing. Look at the federal government having a role and a broader, more muscular role in the regulatory process that everyone's got to go through nationwide. And I think, like, I think a lot of folks were like, oh, why, when I had my people over parking bill, for example, a lot of folks are like, well, why are, the federal government should be involved in parking regulation? I'm like, why not? If cities aren't meeting their challenge of building more housing, the feds have got to start sending some national standards. And then I believe where we can really make an impact is when we end up linking grants to our standards, right? So like, and I think this can happen at DOT and many other places where we should be linking multimodal transit. We should be linking access to rail, to the creation of density. All of that should be linked to how your application is being presented and how progressive it is as it relates to housing and to sustainability. And we would, I think, make much more progress in building more housing across the country.
Sounds like there's a lot of alignment between some major Democratic players in the Senate and the House, which is why we need to make some calls and go win the Senate and the House. But let's hear now about how this affects things at the state level.
One thing that I think we all struggle with in this country today is, particularly post-COVID, is still feeling anxious and isolated, and given all that's going out there that's aimed at tearing down government's role and our credibility for doing really meaningful work for families of all sizes, all natures, all backgrounds, and all incomes. What the vice president's agenda does is supercharge our ability to leverage resources, technical assistance, and meaningful ideas. You know what people really get excited about when they see change in their own backyards? Meaningful change. And that supercharging means we'll be successful. And it means that I won't have to, pick and choose between one or two projects. The likelihood is I can do all of them at once because I'm getting that helping hand on all of it from the federal government. We need to supercharge housing in America, and her plan does that, and it doesn't leave anybody out. That's a plan everybody wants. Me too.
Now, before we hit the phones, we do have an ask for you. You've hopefully been making phone calls for Kamala Harris before. If you haven't, thank you for starting tonight. So you may have been using the link, which is always there for you, at go.kamalaharris.com. We'd love it if you went to YIMBYsforharris.com and used our very special link, which takes you to the same place, but brands it for us so that we know how many calls you made, both tonight and in general. It just helps to propel our movement and show our strength. As you head to YIMBYsforharris.com and click the link to Phone Bank, scroll down the page because there's going to be a little make calls button in the top right-hand corner. Actually might be worth me just showing this to you right now because happily, or excuse me, yeah, it sends you, let's see, it sends you here. Which has this lovely make calls button. Don't click on that. That's the general link. Scroll down to this one that says start making calls now. That's going to make sure this counts for YIMBYs for Harris and shows that you are not just for Harris, you are a YIMBY for Harris. So appreciate that. Hey, before we hop into training, Elizabeth, Cameron, Armand, as we send people out, any thoughts for folks, any advice for folks, wisdom, encouragement, rah, motivation, anything you want to leave people with as they skip the training and go back to making calls?
I'll say that, yeah, I've been, as Armand sort of alluded to earlier, I've been making calls and talking to voters here in San Francisco mostly, but for the last few months. And honestly, like at first I was kind of nervous because I don't talk to strangers a lot in my day-to-day, but it has been the most rewarding thing I have done maybe in my entire life these last few months. So if this is your first time doing it this campaign, you're coming in right at the right time. We're getting people to get their ballots cast, getting them to their polling place. Like, this is the time that really counts. So thank you so much for joining us.
Armand, Elizabeth, anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah, just it's been a great election cycle to be a YIMBY, which is great to say. I'm just so proud that we're helping elect a candidate that actually has a plan for housing. That we don't just have a plan for the climate and for abortion, but we also have a plan for housing. And I'm just really proud that we can say that this time. And I'm just super proud to be a YIMBY for Harris. And I think we've got a message that's going to resonate with voters who are concerned about housing, who are concerned about how they're going to make their rent or mortgage payments. And I'm just proud that we have a candidate that we can say has a plan for that.
It's wild. When Armand started this group, I remember first joining the WhatsApp. Kamala Harris was not a YIMBY yet, or had not announced that yet. I mean, that's the timeline here. So you out there today are ahead of the curve, and everything has escalated from there. There was no sense whatsoever that President Obama was a YIMBY. So it's been a hell of a ride. Armand, send us home.
The most important thing I'll tell you is if you're going to make calls for Kamala, use our link. And if you have friends who are making calls for Kamala, just send them to our link, because it's really important that the campaign knows that YIMBYs are showing up in full force. They've helped us a lot to put all this together, and we want to demonstrate to them that the reason we support Kamala Harris is because we support housing, so that when Kamala is elected, she knows that we've got her back. And she's going to have our back. I know she'll build housing regardless, but we want to send a signal that YIMBYs are here. The water's warm. It's great to be a YIMBY. It's YIMBYchella. And so send folks that link, make calls through the YIMBYs for Harris link, and let's go. Let's win this thing.
All right. That link is up on the screen. If you know what you're doing, head to it. Head to yimbysforharris.com, click the link to make calls, scroll down the page to the lower link to make calls on the Kamala Harris website, and then hop in. If this is your first time, if you need training, I'm going to pull that up right now. I will lead this, but would love to encourage Elizabeth, Cameron, and Armand to stick around and share a little advice as we go through this. So this is the official campaign deck. We'll just talk through who we're talking to, why it matters, how to make calls, quality conversations, and then we'll get going. They have this timeline on the deck, and I changed it to 0. There are 0 days until election day. There is, I'm in Philadelphia, in the crucial swing state of Pennsylvania, and there is 3 hours and 23 minutes until election day. So it is here. Let's get going. But why does this matter? 2020, last cycle, the election was decided by 44,000 votes total. That is less than fits, not a football stadium, that's less than fits in a baseball stadium. That's an insane number. And so every call you make, if you turn out one voter, that matters. And you may talk to undecideds tonight that you sway for Kamala. You are most likely to talk to Harris supporters who maybe they don't know where to go. They don't know where their polling place is. They don't know when it's open. They don't know the rules in their state. You may talk to somebody who does not know the election is tomorrow. That does happen. Every call you make, statistically speaking, boosts voter turnout for the Democrats by about 4 percentage points. So this stuff matters a lot. Who are we talking to? That's all.
Last week, actually, a few days ago, my brother thought election day was on Monday.
It's just, not everybody can follow this as obsessively as us and presumably you out there, and that's what we're here for tonight. Is to help. So what you're gonna need, just a browser. If you're calling from your phone, headphones help, but you just need that web browser. Head to yimbysforharris.com, and you can do this now. Open up 2 tabs. You're sophisticated that way. Click our link to make calls. It's like on 3 buttons on the page. That's going to open up this web page. And as I said, skip this little button in the corner. And you're going to scroll down to make calls. It is, I think, going to have you select your state just to point you in the right direction. But it's 8:30 on the East Coast. You're going to be calling presumably into places like Arizona and Nevada tonight. When you open that up, if you haven't done this before, helps to preview the script. You can also do that right now as you are multitasking. when you click the script, it's very nice. It's quite nicely set up, honestly. It's just it's a nice little flow that's going to guide you through, right? First thing's just going to be making sure you're talking to the right person. So clicking that, and when you click that, it's just going to take you through the flow of the script, like a little choose your own adventure story, where you kind of mark down their answers as you go. As you do this, you have total freedom to make it your own. This is you. Be authentic, speak with passion, speak with your own voice. If you throw the script out and just ask them, hey, I'm calling on behalf, my name is Steve. I'm a volunteer from the Kamala Harris for President campaign. Election day, as you probably know, is tomorrow. I was just wondering if you had a plan to vote, knew who you were voting for, and knew where your polling place was, and just help them with their polling place. By the way, there's a little toolbar on the right that, as you follow this, should help you just identify that person's polling place. If honestly, if you have an issue with that, and you just open Google and say search for my polling place, and ask for their address, you can plug that in. It will tell you their polling place. So hopefully the script guides you through that and makes that happen for you. If it doesn't, Google's here for you. It's important to, as best as you can, there's a lot going on, but as best as you can, just mark their answers as they go. So it helps guide you right. But again, if anything kind of goes awry with the script and the clicking and the flow, just speak for the heart and get them to the polls for Kamala. As you talk to them, this is less important because it's the night before, but still helpful for campaign tracking, just to know you're talking to the right person, or kind of what initial first contact you've had. There are a couple ways to do this. Honestly, the campaign likes the idea of calling with the device and phone for calling with your phone, like having the script up on the computer and calling with your phone. And you can do that. If you do that, it'll give you a number call. That's going to initiate your session. You'll just leave that call going, put the phone down, don't touch it, and you'll do everything from the computer, and it's gonna lead you to people automatically. Honestly, and we've already heard some of this in the chat, I like just calling with my computer. I honestly think it's simpler. That is against campaign recommendations, but it's only a tiny recommendation. I honestly think your computer's gonna help you a little bit. It is going to ask you your information. Nobody knows that. That's for the campaign to send you text from Kamala or whatever, or just know who's calling for them. The person on the other end will not know who you are. You want to make up a different name for yourself? Go for it. They will certainly not have access to your phone number. So this is just internal stuff. This is their thing. So yeah, it's going to give you an option for a number to call. That'll initiate your session if you're more comfortable using your phone, or you can just call it directly from your device, which will make everything happen in the browser. When you get into it, here's how this works. So it's going to give you this first gray screen, and it's going to start searching for calls. And what it's doing, I've done a little bit of tech sales before, and there's a lot of this, like, I don't know, sorry to peel back the veil, but yeah, these systems call like 10 people at once. And if somebody picks up, it goes, oh, shoot, and it connects you. And it connects you as fast as you can. What's going to happen when it connects you, this green bar is going to pop out, and it's going to make a lovely, gentle little boop noise, just to let you know you are on. Depending on how fast it connected you, it's possible that they've said, hello, or hello, who is this? And then the system's gone, oh, shoot, let me connect them to Steve. And so you might be entering the conversation fresh from the start. You might be entering it after they've said hello. That's fine. Just act like they've said hello and say hello and introduce yourself. That's the right way to jump in anyways. You know, I like to say again, hey, I'm Steve Boyle from the Kamala Harris campaign. Hope you're doing great tonight. Election day's tomorrow, and I just wanted to see, if you know who you're voting for, and if you know where your polling place is. The script will guide you better than that, but that's what I like to do when I'm doing doors and stuff. So yeah, green bar, initial gray screen. Then it's looking for people. It finds somebody. They pick up, green bar, boop, and you're on and off to the races. And honestly, it's going to be fun. Again, tonight, the campaign is optimizing for turnout. They are not going to, if you get a Trump supporter, that's kind of a mistake. Honestly, that's not really what's supposed to happen. You give it your best shot, but you're probably not going to turn a Trump supporter tonight. This is about, like, if they don't know, if they're undecided, help them get to Kamala. If they do know or they lean Kamala, help them get to the polls. What did I want to add there? Nothing. No, that's great. So yeah, this should honestly be a pretty gentle and fun crowd tonight, but we'll see. Mistakes happen. Lists are lists. If you get somebody, the campaign likes to mention this, if you do get somebody who's like kind of a problem, right? Maybe they're a Trump supporter, maybe they're angry you're calling them. You know, if the call's a little funky, if it's not going anywhere, if they are harassing you, you can hang up. It's fine. The campaign has given you official permission to say thanks, sorry, and hang up. Honestly, if you need to just extract yourself, you can do it. So never feel like you're stuck in a situation, and time is short. We want to be talking to the right people we can get to the polls. So just so you know, that's always an option. You'll make it through the call. You'll do through the flow chart. Again, if you've never done this before, really helpful to preview the script before you dive in. And then when you finish, just hit end survey, and it'll start looking for somebody else. Armand, did I hear you?
Nope.
No. All right. I'm hearing things. That can happen. I'm going on not a lot of sleep. Yeah, if you do need to hang up, it's just this little red button in the corner. That'll hang up that call. And then yeah, it doesn't start looking for you automatically. That's just for tech sales. Your boss makes them do that. No, the campaign, you end the call, and then it'll pop this window. And to find the next person, you just click continue calling. If you feel good with the tech, jump in. You want to hear about having a nice conversation? We're going to keep going. And again, all the links are on yimbysforharris.com. That will lead you to the right place to make calls. Also to the WhatsApp thread if you need to get in touch with us. Having high quality conversations. Again, assume they've said hello. Jump right in. Be super friendly. Focus on the personal and the positive, especially the positive. This is something that campaigns found in all the data, right? I'm not saying you can't sneak in all the horrendous stuff Trump is going to do, from crippling the economy by driving up prices with tariffs, which have ranged from, the estimate when you look at economic studies is 10 to 20%. He said as much as 1,000%. So he genuinely, he could raise taxes on imports as much as 1,000%, which I think we can agree would drive up prices, / create an inflationary spiral and devastate the economy. You can talk about that, but people still, it's only been, Kamala was replaced in July? So some people still get to know her. And we got a weird news environment in this country. So focusing on the positive is really important. Why do you like Kamala? What do you care about? Why are you hopeful? Why are you excited? Keep it positive. Be friendly. People like that. They respond to it. Keep it personal. You tell them what matters to you, and talk about what matters to them, right? A really nice thing, if you're ever stuck, is just say, what's important to you, right? What's even outside of politics, like what's top of mind for you on a day-to-day basis? What's hard that you wish was easier? What are you thinking about? What issues do you care most about? And when they do, you can just come in and share, relate to them, right? Acknowledge them, agree with them, share your personal stories, share what it reminds you of. That's really nice. You don't have to be an expert. Don't feel like you are like this officially deputized, super trained campaigner. You're not Kamala, right? You're here because you're passionate and you care. So if you don't know something, it is totally fine to say, I don't know. I will say KamalaHarris.com has an issues page, which is pretty substantial and easy to navigate if you want to have that handy for you, if you kind of need it. And the little tutorial or toolbar on the side will help as well. But it's totally cool to say, I don't know. And yeah, the script's there to help you. Good to preview it, but ultimately, this is your game. So make it your own, make it personal to you. More advice for talking to people, but also talking to people kind of in general. It's good life application. You can use this on your dates as well. Acknowledge the other person, right? Acknowledge them, acknowledge their point of view, right? Support them. People love to hear their own name. Don't overuse it, but people like that. Be curious, be genuinely interested in them. Ask them where they're coming from. Connect, share your life, share moments you felt similar. Keep it positive and share your hope, your genuine optimism for the impact that President Kamala Harris can make on this country. And this is really important. Make it a real clear choice and offer them a choice and get them to choose. So frame that choice. It is Kamala versus Trump. It is everything that Kamala will bring to the table versus everything that Donald Trump will destroy. And then ask them to choose. It's time to choose, right? So ask them to choose to vote for Kamala, right? And specifically ask for what you want, right? Ask them to vote for Kamala. Just ask it. ask them to go to the polls. Ask them to make a plan to go to the polls. It's good to, you know, if you can get them to commit to like, what time are they going? Where are they going? Do they know the name of the place? Do they know the address? Again, offer them a clear choice and ask for what you want. You only get the things you ask for. That's the training. We're gonna make some calls, and then we're gonna win. Before we send the training group off, again, any final thoughts, Elizabeth, Cameron, or Armand?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, assume that every call is going to be the best call that you have. It might not be, but it's much more likely to be if you go into that call assuming this person is going to be on board and wants help, you know, knowing what to do tomorrow. That's always helped me. So just passing that along.
Everyone out there, you are amazing for doing this and heroic for doing this. And tonight and tomorrow, we will literally write and change the course of world history together. So I want to thank you so much for being with us tonight and for doing this. In a moment, we're gonna flash a little slide up on the screen that just says we're making calls. We'll go dark for a little bit so we don't distract you, but we will be back at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And when we come back, we'll hear about your experience. Do share it. Keep us posted. Share it in the WhatsApp group. We'll shout some folks out on screen. It's good for the crew, good for camaraderie. We'll show a few more great clips from New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, from California Congressman, or United States Congressman from California Robert Garcia, and from California State Senator and YIMBY pioneer Scott Wiener. And then we're gonna kind of say goodbye. We're kind of gonna close out this chapter of pre-election YIMBYs for Harris campaign events. God knows what the next 3 months will bring, and then hopefully the years after that will still be fervent with activity from this crew and from all of you. And in a Harris administration, we're still going to have work to do, and election day is not going to be the end of this. But we'll come back, we'll say goodnight, and then we will send you out into the night to make calls for as long as you can keep your eyes and ears open. So thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to throw that banner on now. Head to YIMBYs.com. Yes, Armand.
One last thing, just if you're making calls tonight and you're on Twitter, take a selfie, tag us, we'll retweet you. Let's do some positive energy and vibes. Posting is a pipeline to policy, so post your heart away. Yeah, and just I'm very grateful to all of you. Steve has done an amazing job. I'm grateful to every single person making calls. We're going to make history. Kamala's going to make history. So thank you.
Let's show the world we're here. Let's show the world who we are and what we're about. Post on Twitter, tag us, share stories in the WhatsApp group, blast social media. We will retweet the heck out of you. I'm going to throw that slide up on now. Head to YIMBYsforHarris.com, make some calls, change the world. We'll see y'all at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Woo. Hey, folks. Hello, YIMBYs for Harris. You are all heroes. You are doing amazing work. It's been incredible just to read the different stories people are telling on our WhatsApp thread together and different texts I'm getting. Just of you pounding the pavement and pounding the phones for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It is why we might win tomorrow. It really is. The Harris campaign announced that they had this weekend, they had 90,000 volunteers knock on 3 million doors in battleground states across America. Meanwhile, Trump put Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk in charge of his Get Out the Vote mission. And they have, trafficked people in the back of a U-Haul. And the only canvassers that anyone on the Harris team has seen from the Trump campaigns have been a straggling few who've knocked on Harris doors. So this is a razor's edge right now. As Tim Walz said today, it's the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, 2 minutes left, but we got the ball. And if we win tomorrow, it's going to be because of the work that you're all putting in. So thank you so much. Before I welcome back our team and bring Nia into the stream. Sorry.
Oh, man. It's been 3 months.
It's Nia.
Get her name right.
I know. I slipped out. Too many thoughts go through my head because I did want to share. I was sending some tweets a moment ago and sort of reviewing our clips just to share with you. And just hearing the words of senators and congressmen, but also governors, Governor Jared Polis of Colorado, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham of New Mexico, and what it will mean to them and their efforts to build housing across America. It's clear that not only is the country counting on us, but we have governors counting on the work that we're doing to put Harris in the White House, to build new homes, to lower rents, and to make home ownership a possibility for so many people for the first time, to really start building wealth. So it's sort of incredible that we can confront sort of a generational challenge and a generational legacy, buck party orthodoxy at times, and do big things in America. So with that, I'll shut up. And I do want to welcome to the stream Nia Johnson. Nia, thank you for joining us.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you? Are you guys excited?
Yeah.
Excited.
Basically shaking with nervousness.
Yeah.
Cameron, we were in a rush to share some clips earlier. I think by this point we all know who Armand is, but Nia and Cameron, maybe starting with Nia, would love for you to just share a little bit about who you are, how you became a YIMBY, how you came to YIMBYs for Harris, and a little what you've done with us so far.
Hi, everyone. I am a co-founder of YIMBYs for Harris, and how I became a YIMBY was I grew up in a random exurb in Massachusetts, and I hated it. So I looked up, why do I hate this? And I went down the urbanism pipeline from there. But overall, I'm here for more fun spaces, more sustainable spaces, more affordable spaces. Because contrary to popular belief, density means more money in your pocket. So yeah, more productivity, less boring spaces.
I love, by the way, that you called out fun spaces, because sometimes we forget to mention this, right? Because it does matter to lower rents and help folks get a home. But look, there's a loneliness crisis in this country, and beyond that, we could all use more friends and more fun. And when you have that opportunity, you don't have to take it if you want. You are welcome to live in a rural area or the suburbs, but we want to make it possible. If you want to live near your friends and not a 30-minute, 40-minute drive away, if you want to be able to walk to a coffee shop, walk to a bar, meet your neighbors, see your friends with a 10-minute walk, we can make that possible, and that's something that we can do together, and that's the work that y'all are doing tonight.
And it doesn't even just have to happen in a city. I think the city, is the way that I think most Americans visualize it, but there's other density can take other forms. Think Stars Hollow and Gilmore Girls. You see Rory and Lorelai walking to the set, walking to Luke's diner every episode.
Cameron, tell the people.
All right. And if I'm having Wi-Fi issues, let me know. It's been a little bit spotty in here tonight. But yeah, Nice to see everybody. Nice to meet folks. Gosh, how did I come to YIMBYism? I'm not even fully sure. I am a city person. I think honestly, your guys' conversation just now really summed up a lot of why building housing is so important for me. Like, I love cities. I love being around people and meeting people spontaneously, whether it's friends or strangers, like you said, at a coffee shop, at a bar, just like in the park. That is, I think, the essence of life, not to get all philosophical about it. And like, I love living in San Francisco. And one thing that was so heartbreaking during the pandemic was watching friend after friend after friend move away because, you know, they were starting to have kids and they wanted, you know, a little bit more space, but most importantly, like, just couldn't afford to live here anymore. And, you know, so it's, you know, selfish in some respect, but like, I want people to be able to live here. I want to, whether it's friends or just strangers, like, I want to be around people who can, you know, afford to be here, to build their families here, to start new generations here. It's super important to me. And so that's sort of a local aspect, personal aspect, but it's so important across the country. And I know that, you know, YIMBYism and the need for more housing like looks a little bit different in every community, but I think sort of bringing everybody together, there is that shared need, whether it's, you know, in a blue state, a red state, not to be like Obama, an urban area, like a suburban area, a rural area, we all share the need for just more neighbors and more density.
Cameron, this is your first time on camera on a stream for YIMBYs for Harris event,
Yes.
but you've been a
Sure
time to make all this happen behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what you've worked on?
Oh gosh. Yeah, a little bit of getting to know, like reaching out to our speakers and their staffs. Everyone's been so amazing and so enthusiastic. These are people who are so busy, big names like, you know, governors, senators, representatives. It's been amazing how eager folks are to participate. After our first event, when some folks couldn't make the timing work, the scheduling work, they reached out to us because they wanted to get involved in future events. I think that inspired these future events. So yeah, helping out with that a lot. Learned Canva to help with some of the designs, and I don't know, just a lot of other stuff to make all this happen.
And it has, and it's been incredible working with you, Nia. I would love for you to tell a little bit about everything that you've done for this movement and to fuel it, and really a lot of ways be one of the major voices for YIMBYs for Harris, both on camera and off camera.
Oh, you're talking about my posting.
Posting. Nia is an all.
We love your posting.
Every time
we love your posting.
YIMBYs for Harris that's like good, it's Nia, and if you're like, oh, that joke is cringy, that's me.
So boring. That's me.
It's yeah, no, like I think it's just like making memes and making posts, and I think it just like honestly like it was an outlet to like funnel out all of my like YIMBY posting, because like I have a day job, guys, and like my colleagues keep asking me, I'm like, why do you always tweet about housing? And I'm just like, because it affects everything, guys. It affects our, like, I'm in startups, so like I'm just like, it affects our business, right? Raises our like cost of doing business. Like, we should all be YIMBYs. Like, every founder, every artist should be a YIMBY, because it makes existing cheaper. And then if existing is cheaper, then you can create new things a lot easier.
You know, I love, and I'm gonna go to Armand in a second, but I just have to say, I love that you said both every founder and every artist, and I love that personally, because I am both a founder and an artist. I run a company called Epic Immersive that makes like large scale immersive experiences. They're theatrical, they're arts. We work with actors, we work with designers, and I have to say this applies to both. You know what I mean? We know, and on the, you know, the artist side of things, for me, my whole community, for very understandable reasons, is deeply passionate about marginalized communities, because most of them are from marginalized communities, deeply passionate about lowering rents, deeply worried about things like gentrification and displacement. And YIMBYism really is a major antidote to those things, both when you talk about using new housing to lower rents, but also when you talk about breaking down barriers for cities and states. I'll play a clip in a second where Michelle Lujan Grisham from Governor of New Mexico talks about, I hope this is the right clip, talks about using state land to build. But where I'm going with this is building public developments. My radicalization into this movement was being in San Francisco and seeing how hard it was to build developments that were 100% subsidized affordable housing. because you'd have people be able to come up and say, hey, that parking lot, that laundromat, that McDonald's, I don't want the riffraff there. And so, you know, so if we want to both lower rents, but also just help folks get a home, get a roof over their heads, get a second chance. This is the way to do that. Speaking of gentrification and displacement, just to put a plug, you know, if you don't set out to build a giant tower in a marginalized poor neighborhood, when that happens, it happens because wealthy neighborhoods don't let you, right? And sort of protect themselves and gatekeep themselves. And across the country, cities and towns only allow development in those areas. And so helping folks to be able to build housing and build it in those kind of high demand, high value areas on coasts and you know in these lands, I think is really important for equity, for social justice, for equality, and of course for lowering rents, putting more money in your pocket, and giving folks that chance to buy their first home and start building wealth. I've been talking for a bit, but I did want to ask Armand. We heard a little from Nia and Cameron. How did you get into YIMBYism? What sort of sparked this for you, and where's your passion come from?
Are you? I was a little confused. Asking all of us or me or?
Oh, sorry. Heard a little from Nia and Cameron. So I wanted to hear from you.
Sure. People have heard from me a lot through the course of the selection, so I'll keep it brief. But I grew up. I'm the child of refugees. Housing was always a struggle for our family. As kids, actually, we helped my dad because his American dream, the way he built it, was building hardwood floors. And so every summer, when my friends would go out, have vacations or whatever, we'd be working with my dad, like laying down floors in houses that like we never dreamed we could afford. And I went to college, got a good job. My parents accomplish everything my parents had hoped for when they made that journey, moved to San Francisco and couldn't afford a place, and struggled with housing precarity, lived out of my car for a while, stuff like that. And frankly, I'm one of the luckiest. There's people I grew up with who were literally on the streets, who I ran into in the Tenderloin, mental health issues. And it's a very personal thing for me because every time I see someone who is homeless, I think, but for the grace of God, go I. And we were it's a cliche at this point, but it is still true. We're one of the wealthiest places in the world. And yet, if I walk outside this building right now, there are people rotting on the street and dying, and that's not okay. And we know the answer to that, right? Like there are the complicated answers like mental health and drug addiction, but West Virginia has way higher rates of drug addiction, way higher rates of like mental health issues than we do, but lower homelessness because housing's cheap. And the bottom line is like putting aside there are a lot of cool, fun things about urbanism, and I care about those too. But at the end of the day, to me, it's just how can we make the American dream a real thing for everybody again? And that's why I care about it.
It's a beautiful personal story, and thank you so much for sharing it. I teased a clip a second ago from the governor of New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham, which I want to share now. She's going to talk about her work in New Mexico, how she's led the way, and what a President Kamala Harris would mean for governors and mayors and folks across the country. So I'll share that now.
Well, it takes too long to build. I'll tell you that right now. But we're doing a multi-pronged approach. The low-hanging fruit, which I'm very excited about, Vice President Harris's proposal is to make sure that we're making it affordable. So that is mortgage down payment assistance. That's setting aside large amounts of resources. So the state has the largest housing appropriation in the history of the state. It's over $200 million, with opportunities to move that a little more directly to recognizing the powers that states have to build on state property. Now, that's not to suggest that dealing with localities who you want to be involved in zoning. I could argue against permitting because that's really gotten cumbersome. But, you want communities to develop their communities and to have that more personal flavor about the kind of community, the livability and visitability that people are looking for. But states can do a lot more in that space. And then thirdly, is actually four things. We're trying to remove as many administrative barriers to getting good development moving. So putting together development partners in meaningful ways to really think beyond a lot of those bureaucratic barriers without minimizing. We want quality, safe, affordable housing. We also want it to be environmentally sound so that we're creating the best opportunities in every place in the state. And then lastly, visibility on this issue. So we've created an Office of Housing so that we're doing vulnerable populations, at-risk populations, unhoused populations, creating an inventory, doing all the things that you need to do all at once to make housing a reality for as many Americans, in this case, as many New Mexicans as possible.
I was reviewing earlier. I was looking through some of our old clips from Governor Lujan Grisham, from Governor Jared Polis, Senator Brian Schatz really got me thinking. Just about Kamala Harris's sort of bravery and boldness and originality in on this issue, breaking with the Biden administration, charting her own course, presenting this vision to America, taking on headfirst a generational challenge that has built up over decades and decades and decades. Really, is the first politician and presidential candidate ever to do that, to really prove to the nation America can do big things again. Armand got a chance to sit down with California State Senator Scott Wiener, again, who we've talked about as really the sort of inspiration, for in terms of elected officials for this movement, from his work in San Francisco and California, and how that's kind of rippled through state houses and the federal government across the country. And Armand got a chance to ask State Senator Scott Wiener about his relationship with Kamala Harris from the old days back in San Francisco. So I'll share that with you now.
I don't know if we ever. I first met Kamala Harris in 2002 when I was a brand new attorney, a very junior attorney at the San Francisco City Attorney's Office. Not the DA's office, the city attorney's office. We did civil, and she was a more senior attorney in that office. And so my office was right by hers. I would go and get advice from her about how to deal with a challenging judge in a trial. She would give me good advice. The one that sticks with me the most is do not let her push you around. You have to push back. And I've always remembered that. I have various pearls of wisdom that Kamala gave me over time. I don't think we ever spoke about housing policy, but I know that we did talk about it. She was very focused on how challenging it was for people to survive in San Francisco. And she's a very compassionate person in my experience. And I've seen her interacting over the years, whether when I was campaigning with her for district attorney over 20 years ago or in other contexts. I've just seen the way that she interacts with people. She really listens to what people are telling her and about the struggles, and she wants to help them. And that's always been my impression of her. And she's really showing it now. And the fact that she is talking so just robustly and strongly about housing abundance is just music to my ears.
I was seeing a clip tonight of Kamala tonight in Pennsylvania, knocking on doors. Earlier, I saw that old clip of her talking about sometimes people open the door for you and they leave it open for you. Sometimes they don't, and you gotta kick that fucking door down. Exact words. And I think it's really special. We put in so much work into this. You're putting so much work in tonight for a movement, for policy, for the impact on your life, for the impact on people across America and around the world for, at minimum, a century to come. in terms of the results of this election, how they will shape the battles we have over authoritarianism and climate change. And it's good to know that at the heart of it is a genuinely good and thoughtful person who cares, who listens, who considers deeply, and who feels deeply. And I'm just thankful to have been on this journey for her, and thankful to have been on this journey to those of you on the on camera right now, and those of you watching at home, and those of you who will might see this later or have been in our WhatsApp thread and been a part of this movement this whole time. We're gonna get you in a second back to the phones and basically send you into the night to make calls as long as you can keep your eyes and ears open. And then if you're in a swing state tomorrow, the work begins at 7 a.m. Tomorrow's the last day to write the course of history and leave it all out on the field and sprint through the finish line. That also means we're coming to the end of this event, which means we're coming to the end of the last event for YIMBYs of Harris this campaign season. It is likely to be not the total end for us. Maybe it's the end under that name. We don't know, right? We don't know what the campaign for the election that happens after the election will look like when legal challenges come, when misinformation comes. We don't know what the next 3 months hold. We don't know what the next 24 hours hold. But I am really thankful to have been on this journey with you, and sad to be closing it out. And so I just want to sort of open the floor to Nia, Cameron, and Armand to, we don't have to share parting thoughts just yet. If you're bored of us, hit the phones again, whatever. I just sort of, if you want to take a second and just reflect on what this journey's meant to you, what this campaign's meant to you, this movement, the people in it, hopes for the future, anything that's on your mind right now in these sort of tense final hours of the 2024 presidential election.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that we're definitely YIMBYs are gonna be active and in the fight after the election, no matter what. What this group becomes, we'll figure that out. But I do know one thing for certain, which is in 2028, YIMBYs for Harris is definitely going to be there.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
for me,
I mean, unless she changes her last name, I don't know, but that's weird.
After
YIMBYs for Harris, who knows?
I was just gonna say what really has like stuck with me is the positivity and the joy, both of like the Kamala campaign, like I mean, it's been stressful, intense, obviously, and it's very scary, but like the joy that she has brought, the joy that she has inspired in people. And I think you've also like seen that in this movement. Like, yes, it's really easy to get frustrated with, obstructionist boards of supervisors, just speaking locally, or, all the reasons that YIMBYism can be so challenging. But like, hearing people's stories, talking about like the vision that they want, the abundance, the neighbors, just affordability, like to me, those are all really positive stories. And so, I really hope that we can get this over the finish line and then carry that positivity with us for whatever the next challenge is, because there will be more.
Yeah. And I think like whatever I think YIMBYs for Harris becomes, I hope that it just becomes like an educational source to get an accurate view of the source of the housing crisis. Because I think like so far, I think so much has been like shrouded in like myths and like misunderstandings. And I hope that like we can just be like a resource to just like educate people on like what's going on, get the context, because we did not fall out of coconut trees.
I want her to say it. I hope she wins and gives her a victory speech, and I hope she says it.
I hope she actually doesn't say anything, but just walks up to give her victory speech, sipping out of a coconut.
little umbrella in it.
Well, she just like walked up with like her coconut.
Well, she wore that suit that was like coconut brown or something, which I think was as close as she's gonna get.
Or she could come up with coconut water.
All right, we're gonna do parting thoughts in just a second. So I'll give a couple of mine, which is just a lot of gratitude. Right, this has been I've been an obsessive political junkie for a long time, but not with any meaningful involvement. And then one day I saw a tweet from Armand, who I'd met once for a minute at a party maybe 8 years ago, and then followed on Twitter, and once got to take a call with me to consult on something. And I saw that tweet, and he said, "Who wants an invite to the WhatsApp group?" And I said, "Hey, I'd love that." And and then I said, "Hey, don't do a boring Zoom. Let's try to do a cool stream for our first event." And he said, "I don't know, go for it. Build a team. Show me what you got." And we've gotten to go on this ride together. So grateful for Armand, grateful for Nia and Cameron for everything they've done. Grateful for Jen. How do you pronounce Jen's last name? Because I've never asked.
Carty.
Is it Carty? Yeah. Thankful for Jen in the YIMBYs for Harris group, who behind the scenes has kept us organized and rolling and
100%.
and made this all happen. Grateful for Laura Foote, a pioneer in the movement, who got us going. Ivo Haining, who really was huge in making our first stream happen. Eddie, Arsh, and the whole team, and so grateful for you at home for being a part of this, because it really has advanced the movement and advanced the campaign. Right? We raised a bunch of money. We got a bunch of eyes on us. We made a bunch of calls, and that's helped us connect with more elected officials and have elected officials come to us, and gotten elected officials, big elected officials, to sit down with us and answer deep questions in depth, thoughtfully, and passionately, and swear a little bit and break a little news. And all of this has brought YIMBYism forward. It's put new housing in reach, and it's brought the Kamala Harris campaign forward. And every teeny thing we do can make the difference, right? If you are making calls and 10 people, and you call 10 people, and 9 of them tell you to pound sand, and 1 of them figures out their polling place, you have put us 1 vote closer to victory in a race that may be closer than last time, which was decided by 44,000 votes, and put a dent in the universe. And so you've done that for all of us in YIMBYs for Harris, all of us in America, all of us across the world, and our children and our children's children across the world for generations to come. So thank everyone for going on this ride for us. Let's go Cameron, Nia, and then Armand, bring us home.
Well, I can't top that, but I just want to add one more thank you to you, Steve. I know that after our first event, I think everyone was a little tired and had their lives to catch up with, and it would have been easy for this group to say, "Hey, well done. We raised a bunch of money. Got to get back to the rest of our lives." But you in particular, other folks too, but you in particular, really harnessed that energy that we had and directed it towards these 2 awesome events. And it's so amazing that we didn't just raise money, but we also made calls. We kept our names out there. Like you said, we got more people to talk to us. We grew that YIMBY movement. So really want to thank you and everybody else who made that happen, because look at how awesome this is. It's so cool. So thank you to everyone.
Yeah, and I echo those statements. I think we really couldn't have done it without all of your support and with all of your enthusiasm. Honestly, it gives me chills, the outpouring we've had for the past 3 months. And I just want to thank you. And yeah, we're gonna keep going, because we're not going back. And I'm gonna make corny puns, because that's how I express myself.
Yeah, this is a lovely and beautiful and crazy group of people, and we're gonna save the world. Let's fucking do it.
Let's fucking do it. There's nothing left to do but to win. YIMBYsforHarris.com is going to be your link to make calls until 8 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. Go.kamalaharris.com is your link for all mobilizations. Knock on doors wherever you can. Make those calls. If you got a 5-minute break, 10-minute break, see if you can get somebody, because every vote counts, and we got a world to save. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for being at YIMBYs for Harris. Thank you for going on this ride, and let's go win.
We're not going back, guys.
When we fight, we win.
When we fight,
we're up, because we're up zoning.
We're going to have the freedom to live wherever we